Welcome to episode 347 of the show. Today is one of those episodes where I'm recording out and about, so don't be surprised if you hear people making conversation in the background or cars driving by. Now, straight to the issue for today. Today, I'd like us to look at credibility and looking the part. There's this saying in advertising circles, online marketing circles. It's something that most of you have come across, whether on YouTube or whatever podcast you listen to. And that's this whole thing that people only do business with those that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And that is where credibility comes in, because credibility is important to building the trust factor in the equation. So, like I said, online marketers have been saying this for years, and it's essential to growing your sales and your profits. And if you run into anyone who tells you that, they do have a point. So, this is settled gospel in the business circles that people only do business with those that they know, that they like, and that they trust. But since we're talking about credibility today, I am paying a lot more attention to the trust element in the equation. And that's because most people are not going to part with their hard earned money if they're doing business with anyone without having some modicum of trust. And of course, it's directly tied into how expensive your product or service is. In other words, if you're trying to buy a goosey in the market, then maybe trust is not such a big deal. But if somebody is going to pay 400,000, 600,000 for a wedding photographer, 1 million for a wedding planner, or several multiples of that for a wedding decor person, then trust is absolutely essential. So if you're dealing in the low-cost commoditized space, maybe trust is not so much of a big deal because the risk involved is not that much, and so people can drop their money because how much are they risking anyway? But in a much more expensive product or service realms, trust becomes even much more important. So, of course, yes, we have to pay attention to online elements to try and beef up the credibility. And I'm sure that's what a lot of people are concerned with when they're talking about branding, making sure that the landing page is right, making sure that you have the right colors, um, what else? Call to action. Elements on the website, make sure that the Instagram is up to par. So all those things are important when it comes to beefing our credibility. But once you go past this online space, eventually somebody's going to walk up to you and somebody's going to walk up to your store or your office. And so the offline elements for credibility are also very, very, very important. So you are a wedding photographer, and yes, you have to make sure that all the online stuff is on point to make you appear more credible. But then eventually people have to talk to you in person. You have to look credible. People are going to come to your studio. Your studio has to appear credible. And if you are a wedding planner or a decor person, eventually people are going to visit your office or your warehouse. And so I'm not sure if it's called a warehouse, storage space, whatever it's called. And so you have to make sure that you look credible on all those fronts as well. So in Nigeria over here, lots of people are doing really good when it comes to online retail, but we still have a certain subset of people who want to walk in because they want to see someone, they want to call someone, they want to talk to someone, they want to walk into the store, or they want to be sure that um, they want to be sure that there's someone within reach in case there's a problem or they have a quick inquiry. And so there are lots of people like that who choose to do business that way in Nigeria. So I'm not saying that every single person that is going to hit you up will want to see your office or come to a physical location or have a face-to-face meeting with you. But in the when we're dealing with expensive products or services, and especially in the events and wedding spaces, it's possible that you're going to get people who just look at the Instagram handle, and because of that, they're confident and they're going to give you whatever your asking price is. But you're going to have those people who want to see someone or who want to see something or who want to be sure at the very least that someone is going to be within reach in case there's a problem or in case there is an inquiry. So when you're dealing with those sorts of people, when they walk into the store, when they walk into the office, or when they meet you in person, we have to concern ourselves with what do these people see. because how you come across or how your business premises come across are really important. So if your business premises, if your appearance, and if everything appears to be legit, then people are going to think that you are professional and that you are credible. So you have to look the part, and so do your business premises. So it's really important part of the sales process. In fact, at one of my training sessions is something that I pointed out, that for those people who sell poultry products, chicken, eggs, but the people show up and then the coop is always dirty, and then it's unkempt, then for some people, at least for those people who are industrial buyers, because they need the eggs for animal feeds and stuff like that, there's a problem there. At least from a sales perspective, anyway, there's a problem there. It doesn't inspire you inspire the buyer, some buyers, with confidence. So looking the part means that we have to be dressed appropriately to the situation. And that depends on the context and your client's expectations. It's something that we address a lot when talking to wedding photographers, wedding planners, people in the events and in the wedding space. Because when it comes to commercial business, things are a whole lot more settled. So if you're a banker, you sell insurance products, what else? You're a doctor, it's obvious what appropriate dressing means. The gown, the tie, the suit, the collars, some of those things are a whole lot more settled. But then when we're dealing with people in the events and the wedding space, that is where this whole thing about your client's expectations and the context, that's where they come in handy. So that's particularly why it's not a problem that some wedding photographers can show up in dreads, dirty dreadlocks and torn jeans, and it's not a problem. Because if you're in the context and that is what your clients expect, in that kind of space, they expect that the photographer is going to be a creative, freewheeling, free-dealing person, then I guess that's not a problem. But like I said, it depends on the context and the expectations of your clients. That's the reason why there's some wide variance when it comes to the wedding space, because of the context and the expectations of our clients. But I've pointed out when talking to wedding planners in particular that some of these dynamics do not relate, do not extend to them. So if a wedding planner were to show up in torn jeans and dirty dreads, it might raise some eyebrows. So it's not something we can talk about on a general basis. We have to give a context by context, a case by case examination. But just remember that you have to be dressed appropriately to the situation, appropriately to the context, and appropriately to what your clients expect. So if you are one of those free spirits with dirty dreads and torn jeans, but you are dealing with clients that are ultra conservative, high net worth individuals, maybe you might show up with your dirty dreads, but instead of having the torn jeans, maybe you might wear trousers and a t-shirt, for instance. So so that's just an example. Anyway, this is one of those things where you can't trying to nail down a rule in particular is going to be problematic. So these things are best addressed when we're at live and in-person sessions. So for those of you who come across trainings that are being organized by me and partners that we work with from time to time, these are some questions that we can address in much more detail in the future. So like I said, for those involved in the commercial space, in the corporate space, if you sell insurance, financial products, stuff like that, then it's not a good idea to show up in jeans and a t-shirt. That's because credible dressing, professional dressing has already been defined by convention and by the standards of your industry. But regardless of whatever it is that you do, we have to bear in mind and remember that we want to start off the consultative process right, by making sure that we have the right look and making sure that we are appropriately dressed, because you're not going to be given given an audience otherwise. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. So let's remember that as we're running around touting this idea that people only do business with those that they know, that they like, and that they trust. We should remember that under each of these requirements, under the know requirement, the like requirement, and the trust requirement, there are also several subsets of things that we have to pay attention to. And when it comes to trust, credibility and competence are one of those subsets that we have to pay attention to. And for ideas about how to boost your credibility, especially when it comes to looking the part physically, that's in person or your office or your samples or your storage space or whatever it is, wherever it is that the client is going to meet you. So for ideas like that, those are the things that we have discussed over here on the podcast. So thank you very much for listening to episode 347. Thanks for your time and attention. I am your host, the Abuja-based sales consultant Tavishima Ayede, an event media professional. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.